In conversation with Andrew Holland Smith. Andrew Holland Smith is an author from West Michigan known for his diverse range of work spanning multiple genres, including action, thrillers, mysteries, horror, and young adult fiction. His writing journey began with poetry, but he gained broad recognition with his Masterson Files series, starting with the book Vengeful Son. The series, along with several anthologies like A Slice of Fear and its sequel, has been well received by readers. Smith began publishing in 2015 with The Theft and other short stories and has since expanded his portfolio significantly. In 2021, he co-authored his first non-fiction work, What Not to Say to People Who Are Grieving, with his sister. This book reached number 47 on Amazon in the Dighton Brief category, marking a notable achievement in his career. Smith continues to work on several ongoing projects, including the continuation of the Masterson Files and a new series called Eternal Forever. Additionally, Andrew is active on his blog 29000sunset.com, where he shares daily motivational pieces, poetry, and insight into his ongoing projects. For more about his books and musings, you can visit his official site at andrewhallandsmith.com. And on today's episode of Auto Interview, it's my utmost pleasure, joy, and excitement to have on the show today, Andrew Smith. How are you doing, Andrew?
Super, fantastic, and lots of other words that I'm going to save for a book. I'm doing good.
Yeah, it's quite lovely. I love your excitement already and the clap introduction you've got in there. Sounds quite amazing, really. Thanks for coming on.
You're welcome. Thanks
Yeah,
for being in another continent. Wow, that's cool.
yeah, it's amazing how internet get to connect us together. Yeah. So, Andrew, I want to first say that I found the discussion page of your novel, Vengeful Son, on Amazon to be quite pulling and absorbing and very captivating. Knowing that this is the first book in the Masterson Files series, I would like to ask you what inspired the making of this book? How does Vengeful Son come to be? If you have a copy of it there, I'd like you to show to the camera just so we see what it looks like too.
Well, a copy of the book Vengeful
Mm,
Son. Yay. Vengeful Son was actually a challenge from two friends of mine that I dedicated the book to.
mm,
When they came to me, they had read many of my short stories and a lot of my poetry, and they said, "You should write a book." This was a self-published book, and they challenged me to put it forward. And I sat down and started writing. And as I wrote each chapter, I would meet with them and read the chapter to them. And I pushed the book through in just over a month
mm,
with a focus on, it worked around some of the people that I have met in my past and the different things they've done. Now, of course, I embellished a lot because it is a book of fiction about an ex-assassin who is trying to
mm.
retire, but a lot of the things that are inside of it are very real, and the approaches are very real to how things happen. And the key to the entire book is the interactions between some very colorful characters.
Wow. That's quite amazing to know, really. I mean, that sounds like a lovely introduction into becoming an author. I love the sound of it.
It was a lot of fun, and as I worked through it with them, and as I started gaining little followers,
Mm,
pushed to create a second book. I had no thoughts on a second book when I wrote the first one, but
wow.
it rapidly became a series as I visited different venues. I was at Barnes and Noble several times signing books,
Mm,
and suddenly people said, "When's the next one?"
wow.
And started on the second one almost right away. It was fun.
Interesting. Yeah, it's fun, yeah. And you also have the follow-up book to the series in the name of Sinful Father. And I need to mention that I love your title names, especially the title transitioning from the first, Vengeful Son, to now, Sinful Father. Would you like to tell us a bit about that too? And if you have a copy, I'd like to show you. Sinful Father. Amazing titles, really, you've got.
Are games on words. And when readers read Vengeful Son, Sinful Father, Deadly Daughter, and the other books, they'll realize
Wow.
that who is the sinful father? who is the deadly daughter, who is the vengeful son,
Mm,
because there are several people that fit. And as the book slides together, you suddenly realize here is the sinful father that is inside of this particular book. This book starts out with bomb explosions and lots of excitement, and ends up in Washington, D.C., in the middle of trying to figure out who a a real problem spy is, and finding the spy, and
mm,
it twists and turns everywhere. And I love my own endings. I have nice twist endings that make the reader go back and say, "Yeah, I remember that," and have to look and say, "Wow, this all makes sense." Everything
mm.
gets tied up, so it's a lot of fun going through these books.
Yeah, it sounds amazing, really. I mean, even with the number of works you've got ongoing already or got published already, it speaks volume, really. Yeah, it speaks volume. Thank you. Thanks for sharing. And Andrew, one of the most interesting things to me as a writer is to listen to readers' feedback. And you may want to agree with me that, this is one of the things that makes literature to be a bit complex in its entirety, is the fact that it can be interpreted in different ways by different readers based on their opinion. And sometimes the readers might get a message intended by the author. Sometimes they might be close to getting the message intended by the author. And sometimes they might be far from getting it. And on most occasions, they might hilariously misunderstand the entire message. As interesting as it sounds and as fun as it sounds, I would like to ask you, how do you feel when readers interpret your work differently than you intended? I'd like to hear your take on that.
I've got lots of stories on that. I won't count the number of times that inside of either a bookstore or at an event, people have walked up to me and said, "Oh, you're an ex-assassin," and I'm no, no, and they misinterpret that I'm writing a biography about the book when
Mm,
it's actually a fictional work. But one of the most interesting things is Reader's Favorite did a review on my on one of my slices of fear, and when I got the review back, the
mm,
review said, "Andrew did a good job explaining today's society and all of the societal woes that people work within. And he should be applauded for all of the work he's done on showing how society interacts in this story about monsters." And I've looked at it and I went, "I did? I don't."
I can't remember.
But I read the story again and I was like, okay, I see what they're saying, but
Mm,
it was a story about a monster. It wasn't a story about society, but I'll take it. You
mm.
always end up listening to your readers. I have a few men that and women that have reached out to me in my latest book, and they were very angry with me because one of the characters had died. Uh,
Oh,
there are you end up with, okay, should I have done that? Shouldn't I? And I see much bigger authors than me sometimes going through the same when their characters go through difficulties and people are angry with them.
mm.
So I enjoy it. And if there are things that they suggest that I can incorporate, I'll incorporate them.
Wow.
Otherwise, the characters kind of take their own path.
Oh, wow. That's actually amazing. I mean, it's a fun thing for
Mhm.
authors to get feedbacks from different readers and opinionated feedbacks, actually, because from one reader it differs to another. Some might be close to getting the message. And sometimes I think it's a very fun experience to hear people share a little bit different from what you've written or what you've intended for the message. Or get it to you, be like, oh, wow, really? That sounds interesting. I take that. That's lovely. It's a very fun experience, I think. Yeah, it's a very nice one.
Well, it's great when somebody tells you something about your story. And I was at an event, one of my biggest events of the year this summer, and someone came up that had read the six Masterson File books, and they started telling me, "Well, I don't think he would have done it that way. I think that he would have done it." And I'm okay. Why do you think that? And you end up debating about a character that doesn't really exist, about what they would or wouldn't really do. Okay, that works by me. I got a kick out of it.
Yeah, that's one of the things that make book conversation to be quite fun.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we was a book club in my city, and sometimes when you hear people debate about characters, you're like, wow, it's always a fun experience. Yeah, thanks for sharing, Alan. Thank
Oh,
you.
no problem.
Yeah. Now let's talk about your other title in the name of Adam, which is the fourth book in the series of The Eternal Forever. For readers who haven't read Adam yet, and without giving much information away, could we have a sneak of what you'd expect in terms of themes picking up Adam?
Well, Adam is a very different type of book, and the cover here, Adam sells a
Beautiful.
lot just for the cover at different events, but Adam is a person of unknown age whose first memory was in 2200 BC, and because of his longevity and because of interactions with other people, uh, he runs into some interesting issues, including being kidnapped by 13 women for a long, long time who find that they stay young when they're with him. The
Mm,
story is set in both modern times and telling about ancient Derbent, which is near the Caspian and Black Sea, kind of on the edge of Russia. But
mm,
it is all over the world, and Adam took that name simply because he of his age and feeling he was the first. So
mm.
it's a very different from my Masterson Files series. And the second
Wow.
book series is just about done. It's with the editors now. I'm sure I'll get beat to death by editors, and they'll tell me to rewrite parts of it, but it'll still be fun, and it'll be out soon.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. I love your description of Adam. Thank you. Thanks for sharing. And now
Yeah.
there is another book of yours that I found the title to be down to earth and wholly emotional in its tone. And that's what not to say to people who are grieving. Could you tell us why you decided to write this book and how important you think people need to know what to say and what not to say to mourning people, to people who are grieving?
Well, here is the book. Uh, and
Very
this
simple cover.
Very simple. This book is near and dear to my heart.
Mm,
My niece was tragically killed several years ago
wow.
and helped everybody. She was always looking for friends, always looking out for other people. And in actuality, she got a phone call from a friend. And while going to help her friend, she was in a tragic accident and lost her
Wow.
life. And the she was so active with the church, and she was active with the school that she was working at, which was a university, and she coached cheerleading, she coached theater, and everybody was her friend. And there were thousands and thousands of people at the memorial who walked up to my little sister and said things that couldn't help. Things like, "Don't worry, you'll be able to have another child," and one thing after another. And it was very devastating. It was right at the start of COVID, and my little sister and I held each other, and emotionally it was tough. And we decided to write a book about it. Each of the
Mm,
things inside of the book are things that were said or that were experienced. And it's real straightforward in the book. There are things that you can say and things that you can't, and you have to discover that. The hard part is there's nothing that anybody is going to say when they're going through grief that's going to make it better. So the best thing
mm,
to be there, to be that person that's holding someone when they need it, or to interacting or just helping out. But you're not going to have anything magic that is going to suddenly make them feel like, oh yeah, it's okay that I just lost someone special to me. Uh, so it was written out of love for my niece. She was 25 years old.
oh,
Uh,
wow.
Now she's gone,
Oh,
and
wow.
this is in its place. I am working on a second book from this of along the same, and it will look very similar to this book.
This
And
day.
that book will be How Not to Grieve. That is my sister and I after the 4 years and the different things we've had to go through. And it still hurts every day to lose
Wow.
someone who was in the prime of their life and had just gotten married and lost it all.
Oh, wow. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear about that. And that's such an emotional one. Even reading through the description page in Amazon was quite emotional for me. I was like, oh, wow, that sounds like something people really need to know because I'm curious. The title alone is quite captivating, very compelling, very
Thank you.
compelling. And also, Andrew, I've always been fascinated by how authors, especially novelists like yourself, because you've even written quite a lot, craft long sentences and bring words together in a way that, sentence make paragraph and paragraph make pages and pages make chapters and chapters coalition makes a great novel eventually. And sometimes it's got me thinking, how exactly did they got the ideas to pull these words together, to compose the sentences in a way that it keep transitionally beautifully into an amazing huge novel. Now as far as writing is concerned, I'd like to ask you too, how do you get the inspirations and ideas to write your books? Where did they come from?
Well, I explain it on my website a little, but there are usually authors are divided into three groups, kind of. There's
Yeah.
no way to really classify authors. There are pantsers, and there are
Mm,
planners, and then there are this in-between pantsers that kind of have an idea where they're going to go, but they make it up along the way. I make it up as I go, and uh, whether it's something small or something large, my
mm,
ideas come out onto the paper first, and then I go back and rewrite if I as I need to. There's
mm,
obviously a lot of mistakes that I go, but I have a general idea of the story. But as I start writing, the story takes off on its own. And sometimes, actually, with the last book in the Masterson Files series,
yeah.
Curious, the book went a different direction as I was going. I expected it to end one way, but as I crafted the different situations that the
Mm,
characters were in, it didn't make sense to go the way I thought,
wow.
and the writing went completely different with rather explosive results.
Oh,
It
wow.
really meant a lot, and it's tough. In one of my books, someone dies at the end, and you're sitting there writing a eulogy about a fictional
Mm,
person from a fictional person who's died, and you're emotional over what could be construed as nothing. You're sitting there
mm,
getting worked up about things that don't exist, but they're
mm.
ideas that are coming out of your mind, and you're going, I feel bad that I did it. You killed him. What expect? So it's always interesting, but I do very little planning. I know where I'm
Yeah.
starting, and as I get to an end of an idea, that becomes a chapter, and the chapters roll together to a logical conclusion
Oh,
where
wow.
four different stories converge to an ending.
Oh,
It's
wow.
fun.
That's quite amazing to know. I mean, I enjoy your take about this, and I enjoy you talking about it because, with different people, it differs. I've got some people tell me, oh, I got ideas from, my dreams. When go to bed the night, yeah, I got ideas from what I've seen around me. I got ideas from hilariously personal life experiences. I got ideas from, conversation that he've dropped on, conversation that doesn't belongs to me. That I try a bit jumpy, yeah. So many other things. I mean, it's quite lovely how all of these things kind of emanate from, and how stories have been developed in a weirdest manner, in the most uncommon and the most little way you can ever imagine that, oh, this is the last way to get a story idea. Well, within a trickling of an eye, it's brought out from there. Thank you for sharing.
Absolutely. And sometimes the start of a book will come from that. The start of the book, Adam, came from a dream I had, and that
Imagine.
started me along. There are
Wow.
several things. In one of my horror anthologies, there is a story called A Conversation with Death, and that was the most vivid
Mm,
I ever had
that's a
about me talking. death. And as I wrote it, suddenly all of the details filled in. So you may start with a dream or you may start with something else, but the journey is half the fun. Let's get there. Let's have fun. Yeah, it's getting
Oh wow, that title sounds pulling a conversation with death. That's quite
well.
amazing. I'm curious as to what that entails, yeah.
Well, A Conversation with Death is a story about me being in a small coffee shop, not knowing how I got there, and a little man
Really?
wearing a yellow shirt, and he's balding and has a hat on with wire rim glasses, comes in and talks to me and explains to me that he's death and what happens afterwards. He proves it to me in a rather dramatic format, which he did in my dream as well. But
Wow.
then reminds me that I should have never been alive and explains to me that he's tried to kill me many times and that I've been an anomaly that he's been dealing with. And
Wow.
all of that is true. I
Really?
was a baby that should have never been born. My mother had a deformed uterus and was told she'd never be able to have children. And I
Wow.
squunched up and came out. It was very different. But
Wow.
as Dad explained things to me, he reminded me of memories and talked to me. And the next day, I jotted down some of the ideas from the dream. And as I wrote it, the memories came back and I built
Wow.
a story out of it. It was fun. It
Oh wow. That sounds like something quite dynamic in nature.
was fun. Dynamic is the
Dyna
dynamic.
Dynamic, really. Now, apart from the Masterson Files, What Not to Say, and Adam, do you have any other works you've authored or say currently working on? Uh-oh.
Uh, at last count, I have about 30 open projects.
Wow.
Uh,
That's a
uh,
lot.
Yeah, I put together, as I write, I put together different folder structures in my cloud and on my local systems, and
Wow.
I will write, and some of them are near done, and some of them are just starting. Those range from an older story I've been working on that is a novel about man and his pride for a vehicle and how he loses the vehicle as he drives along. And it
Oh.
is a unique story about a man who saves a woman at a gas station and his immaculate car, which is a strange car, a Dodge Stealth, and he is driving it as he's being chased by three very drunk and very out of line people trying to kill him.
Wow.
And the most recent work that I started was called 14 Stairs. And in February of this year, I had to undergo a surgery that I had been watching for years. And
Oh,
when I
wow.
got home, I could not climb 14 stairs without stopping three times. And I am
Mm.
writing in the book about my experience dealing with life after having a valve replacement surgery, having open heart surgery to replace a valve in my heart. So
Wow.
the recovery time took time, and the story is pretty straight. And I give background of how I had been watching this for a long time, and the doctors had been watching, and it had never impacted my life. I never had a
Wow.
heart attack or any problems like that. But there came a time where they said it's time to replace this. And 8 days in the hospital, and a picture on the wall turning into a giant snake and eating everybody in the room. That was unique, but it was very different. And
Mm.
getting home and getting over that situation is a good nonfiction story.
Oh,
But
wow.
I have several other fictional stories that I've been working on for a while, including a book called 99 Dreams about a man and a woman falling in love, but he is too introverted to talk to her, and how he suddenly is opened up through his dreams and becomes a more confident person,
Mm.
to a few anthologies about happiness and enjoying people, to a book on zombies, to a horror novel. There's lots of things that
It's a
are in
lot.
somewhere between 25,000 and 80,000 words on many of them. So they're almost done, and I just need to sit down and complete them.
Wow, that sounds like you've got a lot, a trunk load actually going
Yeah,
on. That's a lot. That's a significant number. That's very huge. And writing it. That's a lot, to be frankly
time
speaking.
time is always interesting, but I don't sleep as much as a lot of people. And so, uh, in the time when the world is sleeping, I will take the time to continue to write. Sometimes I'll read. I still read excessively, and just try to keep things moving forward. I am focused right now on finishing and making sure that the Eternal Forever goes out, and I am working very hard to finish Vengeance Incorporated, which is the seventh book in the Masterson Files series.
Well, and I think you mentioned that you love to incorporate reader suggestion in your
You,
stories, right?
you have a suggestion? Oh,
Oh my
come on.
goodness. That's quite amazing of you to say, Andrew. That's quite amazing, really. I've enjoyed your answers to this question so far. Yeah, quite
Good.
amazing. Very lovely and wholesome.
Very awesome.
Yeah, yeah. Now, I'd also like to ask you, is there anything that you'd love to share with the viewers about your books and writing career that we did not mention in this interview and you'd love the viewers to know? And also, what is the best piece of advice you would give to an aspiring author?
Well, if you're an aspiring author, I'll start there and that'll kind of lead into the rest. If you're an aspiring author, take a few moments. There are lots of books out there.
Mm,
First, develop a little bit of a hardened skin because there are lots of people that are not so positive and will try
yeah.
to
Oh,
dissuade
wow.
you journey. Don't let them do it. Be positive, work through things. If you go to my website at andrewallensmith.com, there is an article that I wrote there because I am active with many groups trying to help people write better and giving them options. And this
Mm,
book or this post says, so you want to write, and it gives guidelines on how to start writing, how to approach it, and the different avenues that you can go. Don't
mm,
let somebody tell you that there's only one way to do it. There are authors that are very, very successful self-publishing and
yeah.
have made more money than some authors that have taken contracts.
Mm,
And years ago, when I made the decision to self-publish my first book, it was because I had gone and talked to a representative at Simon and Schuster, and he was very direct with me. He said, agent or no agent, if you come to me, unless you have political standing and or are famous for one thing or another, you're
mm,
not going to sell enough books for us to look at, even if it's the best book in the world.
wow.
And that bothered me, but I
That's a
decided
lot.
to
That's
publish.
something else to say.
Oh yeah, but the second thing is don't fall into the scams. I have
Mm,
a very dear friend who I made after she published a book, and her book was very, very good. But I found out afterwards that the company she went with charged her an excessive amount of money to publish her book, and she had to pay for everything and do all the work so that she could be under their title. And it's doubtful that she'll ever be able to break even
wow.
and have to watch out for people who just want to take your money and they're not really interested in you or selling your book. They just want your money and help you along. But I am very active in a lot of groups to try to help aspiring writers along, including one at my full-time job,
Mm,
where I meet monthly with aspiring authors that are inside of an extremely large company, and I help it along. So it's works out very good. And as far as the rest, my books are very different. My Masterson Files series is written very differently than the Eternal Forever series.
mm,
Masterson Files has short chapters and will draw you in and get you going. My horror books will either scare you or they'll make you think, and both are good. I like that. But no two people are afraid of the same thing. So some people may read them and say, that's not scary. But I've had people say, I checked under my bed after I read. So I like it. And the
Well,
rest, I'm just trying to entertain and share some of my thoughts.
yeah,
So
and I see that you have physical copies in there. I'd like you to show it one after the other, everything to the camera. Yeah, I would like you to show it one after the other, from one to the second to the third to the fifth, till we
okay.
have to. Yeah, I'd like you to show everything one after the other. That's
One,
Vengeful Son, book one of the Masterson File. Sinful
two,
Father, the second book in the series. I think Deadly Daughter is the third one. Yeah, Deadly Daughter, the third in the series of Masterson Files.
four.
Faithful Friend, I mean, book four. You have such a beautiful title names here, very compelling. And then you have Silent Sister. Oh goodness, this sounds like a tough one. Silent Sister, because
Yeah.
there is a lot of, there is a lot inside silence.
Yes. And this book is
It's,
one of my favorites.
oh,
Plus, that is my puppy.
oh, I see. That's a dog there.
Yes, but the book is one of my favorites, and that's a good example of how readers have pushed me because there were many people that ask about a character inside of the books called Alan. That character has two very well trained German Shepherd dogs, and
Oh,
they ask about his history. That whole book is about him and his past, and the main character gets involved after the fact.
oh
And then
wow. Then you have Curious Cousin, the sixth book in the series.
eh,
I love the way everything is like a family name, family pronouns. Adam now, this time around, book one of the Eating Forever. What not to say to people who are grieving. Very powerful title. A, a slice of fear. Wow. Short stories of suspense and thriller. Another slice of fear. Oh goodness. Another slice of fear. That's a beautiful title you've got in there. Yet another slice of fear. And a slice of passion. Oh my goodness, yet another slice of fear is the most amazing one. Another slice of passion. Wow, Andrew, this is the theft. Another stories.
yay! We made it through.
Oh my goodness, not yet another slice of fear. It's very, very amazing. The way you're sharing it from one to another to the third, yet another. Oh goodness, oh wow, this is so fun, really. This is so
It's
fun.
always fun.
I've enjoyed this conversation. I've enjoyed your book titles, the lifting up as well, the showing to the cameras, the conversation around them. It's quite beautiful, really. Thanks for sharing.
Awesome. I'll have to send you some books. That would
That'll
be
be
fun.
fun. Yeah, that'll be fun. I mean, that'll be
Make sure
great.
your address and a self-addressed stamped envelope. No, wait, just send me your address. I
Yeah,
will
no
send you.
problem. That'll be
Okay.
great. Yeah. And I left a link in the description part of this interview where interested viewers can get a copy of Andrew Smith's books directly on Amazon, Barnes& and Nobles, on his website, and also another platform. I also left links to his social media pages for possible followings. So thank you so much, Andrew, for accepting the invitation to be featured on P English Literature. It's awesome. And I must say it's more than awesome, actually having this lovely conversation with you around your beautiful titles. Thanks for coming on.
It was absolutely amazing and fantastic as always. And thank you for hosting such a fun little show. This is good. This is really good. I really
What?
appreciate you taking your time, and I really appreciate you taking your time with authors, both established authors and with new authors that are really just trying to get their work out there. And a lot of people really struggle with that, and you're doing a fantastic job getting people's name out there and giving them some exposure where they may not have had it otherwise.
Thank you
Good job.
so much. Yeah.